decipher if it's actually working better or not?
I can tell you everything on this is smooth.
Yeah.
Um, the Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sober Swole Podcast. I am Jake Howard.
Chocolate and
Every time.
vanilla swirl.
Gotta love it. I go by Swirl. What's up, everybody?
I didn't brush my beard. Oh.
You trimmed it.
Well, anyway, before I did, I went and got a haircut and got it trimmed. We did family pictures this weekend.
How'd that go?
It was chaos, but I'm sure there's some good shots in there.
Okay. So I'll make sure
Well,
we were
we
being
can get to
realistic
that.
about it.
We can get into that here in a little bit if you want to. But before we get into the show, I'd like to give a shout out to Royalty Nutrition. That's royaltynutrition.com. And to help me out with that, as always, is Warhorse.
Hey, it's Warhorse. Do you want your workouts to look like this? Or do you want your workouts to slay? When Warhorse picks his pre-workout, he wants it to slay. If you want second place, go with somebody else. If you want to be a champion, go with Royalty Nutrition.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. RoyaltyNutrition.com is a veteran-owned and operated supplement company that doesn't automatically use the cheapest ingredients when making their supplements, and no artificial colors. Great flavoring systems. Check them out. Use the discount code 37HJKE to save you 15% on your entire order. The next shout out of the evening will be to Gorilla Gains. That's gorilla-gains with a Z.com. They are a fitness apparel company that you can wear comfortably in and out of the gym. They also make great equipment that helps keep you safe while you train. Use the discount code JAKE15 to save you 50% on that. And to talk about his empire of buy-to-buy Istan.
That's right. If you are shopping online or you're in store and you got the great idea to purchase something and take it home, but you bite off more than you can chew. If you don't have the time, towing, or the muscle, hit us up at Buy2Buy, BUYTOBYE. We help you out from the time you buy until the time we say goodbye. The content creation side of this is what you see right here. Buy2Buy Studios. High quality content, low cost, always a sound decision. Remote, live, production, what you see right here. We have we have scene switches. We do all the bells and whistles for you. That way you look and sound your best without having to log all the hours. We'll take care of you. That's Buy2Buy, Buy2Buy Studios, all found at buy2buy.com.
Oh, good.
Your timing is impeccable.
That's moving at the speed of sludge. Anyway. I've been on that Ric Flair drip. Anyway, big shout out to.
I can get sound effect. Damn it.
It's all good. It's all right. We're opening up again with another RIP to a legendary recording artist, Loretta Lynn. She was no shit a coal miner's daughter who was one of the originators of "Hey man, go fuck yourself. I don't need no man. Watch me conquer the world."
So
if you,
I don't know Loretta Lynn's music. I mean, if I heard it, it would sound familiar. But I recently watched The Big Con on Netflix, and it is a story about getting screwed by the government, essentially, or both screwing the government over and being screwed over by it. And apparently, the central figure in the story was either cousins or had very close proximity to Loretta Lynn. So coal miner's daughter came up in the conversation, and then about less than a week later, she passes. So,
I mean, well, she has like a wild life. Like, sure, her house was on an episode of Ghost Adventures. Like, they did it full, like, yeah, man. But like, yeah, she's got great songs like "You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man." Don't come home from drinking with loving on your mind.
that's a
That's a good
mouthful.
one. Yeah. And then she did a lot of duets with Conway Twitty.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I've heard several people mention her as inspirations for their journey as an artist, as a musician, and so I know that there's respect all over the place for it. I just don't. I haven't had any personal experience listening with her music or who she
Oh
was.
no, she had a real powerful voice, and she was very instrumental in the feminist movement before the feminist movement was a thing.
Got you.
And like a lot of those people credit her with a lot of her musics were a lot of just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't fuck you. Like that's how she rolled.
So she's
And she
is she
grew
is
up.
she like on a Willie Nelson tip, like advocate?
I wouldn't even say she was an advocate. It was just more of she grew up hard and she had to do a lot of stuff that uh, women weren't supposed to be doing. And so when they told her that she couldn't, she was like, "Watch me."
Right,
You know, there
right.
wasn't more of her. It wasn't her necessarily being an advocate. It was more of just her being like, "I can do that. Suck my dick."
Is that the B side?
That was it. That was the freeform era.
You ain't woman enough to take my man on the B side. Suck my dick. Covering all the bases.
Hell yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciated her music.
R.I.P. So, as we do often, I sent you just a screenshot of something that I was sent based off of my cannabis use, and it correlated with wrestling, which I know you are always a fan of. So, this week's episode, we're talking about the upcoming, well, tomorrow, uh, Sir Ric Flair will be at a local dispensary plugging his new product. And so I sent you the link, and you were like, "Hell yeah, let's talk about it." So this is
well,
your avenue. So let people know how you feel about Mr. Ric Flair.
well, I love Ric Flair. Um, just from good God, what are they watching? But from a professional wrestling fan standpoint, from what he did in the wrestling business, he is the tip. He is the tip of the mountain. And just from the years he did it, like you'll never be able to get to the height and of what Ric Flair did. I mean, like there's people that were great. Like I would say there was people that were bigger stars. You know, like Stone Cold Steve Austin ended up being real huge. Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, like they're more mainstream stars. But when it comes to wrestling as a whole, I don't think anyone will accomplish uh, the level of making wrestling what it was, like Ric Flair did.
Well, you brought up the collaboration he recently had with a member of the Migos.
Yeah.
You got to do a lot in order to cross that kind of bridge.
Oh yeah.
A
No.
lot, a whole
Well, it's
lot.
because yeah, it's a song. It's not good. It's called Ric Flair Drip, and they did it live on like Kimmel or something.
Oh, they
And
did it. Oh man,
oh yeah, and like they're both wearing like Ric Flair robes.
did you tune in
And,
for it?
no, I watched it later though.
Okay.
But it's just like because you have this dude doing rapping and stuff about his money and his chains and his bitches or whatever. And then you just have Ric Flair in the background. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It. I can only imagine how it sounds based off of the collaboration.
Yeah, it's
It speaks for itself in my
straight,
mind.
straight heater. Yeah, I dug into this and I read the New York Post article on it because it caught my eye and it was pretty detailed. And Rick says, so many people come to me with business ideas that never come to fruition. This is probably the biggest business venture that's come together for me in my life. I'm making a lot of money already from other work. I'm going to make more from this than I've ever made. There's a direct quote here.
73.
Yeah,
At 73,
70
making the most. That's
has
it.
Let's see, but you got to understand, this dude has made and lost his fortune like 3 different times. He's on his like 5th wife. Like, he was in some deep shit with the IRS at one point, and Vince McMahon Vince McMahon paid his tax bill for him.
Sounds like there's a Jay-Z lyric about that.
Is there?
Yeah, he's like talking about how younger rappers spend their money. He's talking about investing it. He's like, come see me when that tax bill comes. They spend all their money now. They don't have time to pay for their actual taxes. So,
yeah, but he lived long and hard for a long time. Like, because his whole thing about all the women, all the ladies, all the fancy clothes, all the fancy cars, and the private jets and stuff. That was so. Not only was he living up to his wrestling persona that became his life, that's not something you can easily maintain.
this is also something you don't do sober.
No.
Let's be very clear about that.
He was notorious for going into like bars and restaurants and buying trays of shots for people, like for like the restaurant,
Sure.
like all the time.
Yeah, not a sober move.
No. And one of my favorite lines of his when he's cutting a promo was he's showing off his what he was wearing that night. And I can't remember I think it was Tony Schiavone was the guy doing the interview. And he goes, "What are you wearing? The cheap pieces of shit shoes. And look at this. My shoes cost more than your house." Oh. Ow. Yeah, he lived. I watched his last match. I bought the pay-per-view. I signed up for Fight TV just so I could buy this pay-per-view. And like I knew it wasn't going to be good. You know, he was going to be a shadow of himself, like a shadow of a shadow.
Yeah.
Dog, it was bad. And because it was him, and he was tagging with his son-in-law as his tag team partner versus a guy with Jeff Jarrett and brain fart. Black Machismo. Son of a bitch.
Old man
Don't make me-
syndrome.
Don't make me live Google.
No, it's
I
not
totally
worth.
can't-
It is
can't
not
do that
worth the
anymore.
live search.
Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal
Thank
is
you.
his name.
Good.
It's worth the live search because Jay Lethal deserves some respect. He's really good.
No, I can put it in post, bro.
Oh, I'm fancy.
I know.
Look at me in my head. I can edit everything. Ah. But it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Like he did a couple like cool. Here's some stuff I used to do when I was young, but he was moving like he had.
Like
What was
he
the saying?
70.
What was the saying that they said to Lou Gehrig in his last season?
Oh, I have no idea.
He ran like he had 3 wins behind him, but his last season he was like he had 2 in front of him.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like that, but without the ALS.
For $99.99. Is how much it cost you?
No, it cost me like I don't even remember. It was worth it. It was a good pay per view. But I mean,
You got value out of it.
well, the other matches on it were really good. I'll always watch the Motor City Machine Guns. You're a great tag team. Been around for a long time. But
So
anyway,
you paid to see Ric Flair disappoint you in the ring. You would
I knew it.
You would not
And I knew it.
pay to see him at a local dispensary.
I don't have time tomorrow.
Fair enough. Fair
Dog,
enough.
I got all the kids are home.
Had you known ahead of time, how much time would you need ahead of time?
Oh, if you gave me like a week,
Fair.
or maybe,
Okay.
maybe even a couple days, like a day,
But-
or
But you
a
would have
day.
made time.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I got to take the 2 oldest stepdaughters to go into a shooting class tomorrow from 8 to 9, which will leave me with the boy and the babies. And, Britt's gonna be working till 1:32. Then so in between all that, getting kids to and from places, and
Now, I have zero desire to either go see Ric Flair or to be present for that line.
and you
No,
know
thank
what?
you. No thanks. Good
Well,
on
it's
him.
it's not your it's not your
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
it's not your forte.
I don't know who I would go see. Ric Flair is for sure not it. For sure.
No, if I would have known about that way ahead of time, like I'm not even a cannabis connoisseur.
Right.
Like I would have purchased the whatever amount of it necessary or whatever, and then I would have stopped by your house and I'd be like, "Hey, Yoko, when Ryan gets home,
Hey, I would have appreciated it. That would have been
stay out of this.
fine.
Let's see what the real news is. Have Rylan fill me in before I hit the road."
Yep. So speaking
And-
of that, he in the story that you mentioned, he was not a connoisseur himself. He used
right.
other things, other
Yeah,
stimulants to take care of himself. You saw that you saw that as well?
he said Ambien and Xanax are the only two drugs I've ever taken, only to sleep and relax. You can get hooked on both of those. Cannabis has relieved me of both of those. I've been taking Xanax since 1989. Now it's non existent because of these products. I had to wean myself off. It took me about 8 weeks to get off of it. I'd highly recommend that to anybody. People eat Xanax like candy. That's a Ric Flair quote.
Man, old dog, new trick.
Yep. And yeah, like I was saying, he partnered up with this guy named Chad Bronstein, and he's the guy that I guess he's either partnered with or has helped Mike Tyson get Tyson 2.0, his cannabis line up and running
Yeah.
and off the ground. And whatever, this dude is sitting on the back end with these two obviously marketable superstars just
Yeah.
cashing in.
Cashing in.
Hey, good on him. That was my thing here. As I wrote here, as a Ric Flair fan, I never could have imagined someone of his caliber in the wrestling industry partnering up with someone to have a cannabis brand. I understand that he's looking for something to do since officially retiring from the ring, and people are going to buy it on his name alone. I hope that it doesn't suck, and I wish him well.
Yeah. No, Rick, I can't. I will not be in attendance, but I do wish you well, and I wish Zen Chandler location. Their friendly staff. They have every time I'm there. That's the place I usually look for my particular strain, or my brand every time. And if it's not there, then I'll settle for somebody else. But I'll go there. And they have a lot of promotions. They did they did a Cardinals game for week 1, and then they also gave away Bad Bunny tickets.
Cool.
So like they're doing some major promotions. So Ric
I don't
Flair
speak
is not your
Spanish,
ticket.
but I would definitely go see Bad Bunny in concert.
Would your
I
wife
think
like that?
she'd be coming. She's got to quit being pregnant for like a second before.
I feel like you got a hand in that, sir.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean,
Oh, I went. So this has been about a month ago, but I went out dove hunting with my boy Nate and his friends, and our boy Bryn was there. And I was telling all these guys about this because we haven't announced anything on social media. It's just one day there's just gonna be pictures of like a new baby and like random
Yep.
pictures.
and the pissed off
and,
relatives in your comments.
What the hell? But well, like family knows. But anyway, so I was telling Brent about this. He goes, "Jesus Christ, get off her!" My bad.
Uh-huh.
But it still blows my mind. We were super careful this last time. Super, super careful.
If you say so.
The universe wanted me to have my boy, I guess.
Your loins wanted you to have your boy.
Turn out the lights. The party's over.
All right, so
Yeah, let's
So,
get into this nasty
so
thing here.
Loretta Lynn passed away this week. We touched on the Ric Flair visit that he has pending, and lo and behold, someone's online trying to get attention again. And this time it was the combined forces of Candace Owens and the man formerly known as Kanye West. He had a fashion show of some sort in, of course, it's in another
Paris.
country. He didn't do this here, which is an important footnote. Um, but yeah, you want to read the details of the story?
At his Paris fashion show on Monday, Kanye Ye West wore a shirt with the phrase "White Lives Matter" on the back. Alongside him, alongside him was conservative commentator Candace Owens, who wore the same shirt in white. The rapper, who officially changed his name to Ye earlier this year, wore the shirt at the fashion show for his YZY brand, according to Complex. According to Complex, models also wore the White Lives Matter shirts during the show. The phrase "White Lives Matter" emerged as a racist response to Black Lives Matter movement in 2015 and has been adopted and promoted by white supremacist groups and sympathizers, according to the Anti-Defamation League. This came from CBS News, Caitlin O'Kane, contributing journalist.
So last week we had Lizzo playing James Madison's flute, and this week we have uh, Ye and Candace Owens gaslighting for the sake of attention. Both of them fall in the same category. Unfortunately, it's shit no one was asking for. Like the idea that these two people who have already used this tactic to gain attention, it's just I don't know if it's this at the point of desperation, but I feel like up until this point, a lot of people, many people, still had Kanye's back for the sake of his talents, and I've there has been an audible silence from those same people who either were critical of people critiquing the facts of American history, whatever, the ties that were with him and the stunt in the White House, blah blah blah. But the video of Van Lathan while he was at TMZ and the infamous Ye rant that he stood up and was like, "Pump your brakes, set up a healthy boundary," and that is now recirculating for good reason. But yeah, man, as someone who grew up listening to Kanye, who would mention him in terms of people who inspired me to make music, like it's just it's more of the same, more of the same disappointment that's been going down since his mom passed. So you just always got to keep raising the bar in order to keep getting attention. And apparently, putting his clothes in trash bags wasn't enough. So now he needs to. So can you imagine someone digging into a giant black bag to pull out a White Lives Matter shirt?
Are they $100 too?
And it's trash. Like it's literal. Like it's the embodiment of trash. Just trash headline, story, people involved. They did it in a foreign country, so they couldn't be held accountable here. Like, they're so careful about being provocative
Mm-hmm.
that in the age of instant gratification, it's just like there's so many other things to talk about. So it's like, yes, this happened. Here's where it is. Ugh, it's a waste of energy.
We're on the brink of World War III / nuclear war.
I just need to understand at what point, because Candace Owen and her conservative being a conservative commentator, like this was done for the purpose of spiking attention before critical votes, before the midterms, whatever it is. So like it's simply a ploy, like it's a marketing ploy, and man, between her and Herschel Walker, it's like why are they not raising the bar? Why is it always just being inflammatory? Why is inflammation somehow worth rooting for? uh
I haven't really followed the Walker stuff because I was just like, come on.
He is someone who is underqualified, being thrust into a position because of the area he represents and the level of intelligence required to support him, and both of them are very low. So,
Is he running for Senate or the House of Representatives?
I don't care enough.
Okay.
But his own family has already come out and said that they're not supporting him.
Hmm.
His, I think, gay son has come out talking about his treatment, like abortion, all this other stuff that he's done in the past. It's more of the do as I say, not as I do, right?
Hmm.
So it's he's just the black face of that for the South. So it's like, why are they not raising the bar? Why are politicians not getting better? Why are the forefathers always the barometer of greatness?
So there used to be rules that got changed to make everything more, I guess, quote unquote, fair. But how Congress was originally set up was supposed to be kind of sort of based off the English parliamentary system, where you had your House of Commons and your House of Lords.
Yep.
And your Senate was supposed to be your House of Lords, and your House of Representatives was supposed to be your House of Commons. That's why there's only two senators and then multiple representatives per state.
Yep.
And when they changed the rule that anybody could be a senator, I think that started really muddying the waters to where a lot of underqualified people started really making decisions.
Well,
I
we
mean,
vote for them though. Like,
it's true.
so
It's true.
so we are so in terms of education, like, where do you remember in school being taught how to care about politics?
I don't. But from what I've been told, it wasn't up until the Department of Education was founded that started to start falling apart.
The Department of Education was founded in what?
That's when like that's when like caring about really politics
So
and
social
learning
studies.
and because it went from civics and then became social studies.
Okay.
It was you were taught civics and how the country works, and then it became social studies.
And social studies is different how? Do you know? I don't.
It was some old cat explaining shit to me from back in the day to now, and I was like,
So it was downgraded essentially.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's what he was. That's what they were saying, and I was like, oh, cool.
And so
I
social
don't know.
studies is non-existent now?
Well,
Or
social studies is it, but it's not like civics. He was saying like all this crap that you just learned, I learned when I was like 10,
yeah, man.
and I was like, oh, okay. But it was during the Carter administration when the Department of Education was founded, and it has been ever since the Department of Education was founded. Um, middle school to high school education levels in the United States have been declining ever since the Department of Education was founded.
It seems counterintuitive.
Right.
No, but I'm just thinking so if we branched off of that timeline, how does recruitment and military service include in that? Because
Man, even the dumb people aren't joining the military anymore, dog. Like,
no, but they were, and like
yeah.
you were able to join the military to escape prison and jail time. So like they weren't the best and the brightest, and they weren't put in situations where they were gonna learn to become better and brighter.
Well,
so
a lot
so
of
all
times,
of the veterans and everybody who had no whose civics or social studies was on the ground in a biased circumstance for their country, right? It's not in a classroom learning about both sides, learning about how things intersect. It's just bad guy, my team, not my team.
right.
So
Well, so
there's no intent, or how do you grow a desire to learn about a culture, a language, anything different other than shoot 'em up, bang bang? So you want to talk about the Department of Education? The military does a disservice to you and to everyone else because you don't get an open-minded attempt at learning about the cultures. You're just thrown over there. You're literally dropped in to handle business and leave. Like, there's your social studies.
Well, so that was one of the things that I'm really proud of me about. Was I really took the time to learn as much about everybody I was working with in the city I was in.
Right. But that was the proximity. That's like going to school.
Right.
You had to do it. You
Yeah.
had to get along with the people in your class. But you're not taking a
Well,
trip back there.
Right. Well, so I'd go back to Ramadi.
You wouldn't take the family.
Not right now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not.
No, like down the road for sure. I go back to Ramadi.
Okay.
Well, it's like like there's all those old Vietnam cats that go back to the cities and villages they were at now and go walk around. Like I'd do something like that.
Yeah. But again, it's still the same context. It's like just going back to trauma without any, like, they're not going back to so the reason those same the reason those vets went to Vietnam, they're not going back for the benevolent purpose. They're not going back for, you know what I mean? It's simply a retelling. It's simply to go back. Like, it's a trip. They're a tourist. And they're not going back because to right a wrong. Because why were they there in the first place?
A lie.
Yeah. So they're not
Yeah.
going over there to reconcile with the Vietnamese, not to ingest in the culture. They're there. They're there. It's a trip, man. It is. It's literally a visit. It's a visit. It's like Disney World.
I'll have to see if I can find my old history teacher from MCC.
That's what I mean. Like, there's no, as Americans, there's no urgency for us to want to care about another culture. That's why we're all so indifferent to people who are different. So, going back to Ramadi, you're not going to do it and because you had good intentions the first time. Like, you shouldn't have any kind of regret or any kind of like chip on your shoulder, or your conscience saying, well, you just went over there to take care of business. Maybe you're more of a peaceful endeavor this time. Like, that's not the thing. Like, more often than not, people just go, or they avoid it altogether because of the trauma. Like, so many people
Yeah.
do more people have good stories or bad stories? let's set that balance first.
Yeah.
Because if you are the exception, let's just understand.
Oh no,
that.
I wouldn't say I had a great time.
Like, you're not gonna go. Like how a movie scene is, right? They go back and they're like, "Jay, could you know what I mean?" Like, or
Oh, no,
how they say your
no.
name, the last name wrong. Like, you walk into a cafe.
How red? No, dude. I have to be honest. Most of those people I worked with are probably dead.
Yeah. Fuck yes.
Like
That's the point.
They're probably dead right now.
Yeah. That's
So
the
like
thing, man. Ugh.
like
That's all. I'm just trying to make sure that that's all said and understood, because it's layered. It's not just about going back and it's like all the what the Queen, all of her honorable mentions when she passed away was like her visiting places.
mhm.
She's not doing work. Like, she's just going there to be a symbol of colonialism, and then she jets off. Like, how is that your honorable mention? So, it's in an era of all-time virtue signaling. It's like it's par for the course. But yeah, I don't think people are going back for fond memories.
No.
And sometimes there are children going back trying to find family traces, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much trauma. The roads that go down are just like winding, bro.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let me come back.
What? We made a trip to Tangent Town?
No. My mind went far away. I need to come.
Yeah. So, what was said? Can you retrace that? What was said that
No,
triggered your wandering?
no,
No. Okay.
no. It was. Oh no, you said children going back to find family ties, and
Boom.
that led me on to when we were down by the Euphrates, and like the dusty blonde, blue eyed kids would walk up and be like, "Who the fuck is your dad?"
Right.
And and like
Poof. Yeah, dude. I
like
just drew that up. I drew that up in my mind because it made sense, and you have like an actual Euphrates story. Craziness.
yeah, I gotta find. It was on that old computer that broke, but I had I had pictures of all these kids, and I was like, you were white babies. Who did this? Like, like,
So does that make you think that they're like legitimate courtships and they're coming back and they live on the base, like, or is this
well,
a fun night or taking advantage of their patrol?
I I think it was more of a taking advantage of the patrol
Okay,
kind
man.
of thing.
Let's be
Like,
real.
I think there's a lot of that. I don't think there was any of that with us, but I think before us for sure.
Oh,
Because
Vietnam? Come on, man.
dude, Vietnam for sure. What did I tell you? So I had a Korean Marine veteran that lived our backyard's been up. His name was Bob Yoakum.
Okay.
And so he was coming back from Korea, and they were in Germany, and he met his future wife Erica, and he was just like, "You're coming with me," and she was like, "What?" He goes, "You're coming with me," and he just like took her back to the United States.
Yeah.
And they, there's a lot of that with like the Philippines. I know uh, a lot of guys had Vietnamese wives that they eventually got over back to the United States or whatever and shit like that.
Yeah. Or they grew up on bases based off their
Yeah.
deployment. So there's kids like there one of my friends, he spent a lot of time in Germany. And so he wound up going back there for deployment. And he's been back, he loves going back. And black dude from central Indiana. It's like doesn't fit the stereotype, and he probably never would have had that correlation without the military. So, he's got good ties or, a positive recollection attached to that to his service. But, yeah, there's so much trauma attached to it that like trying to sell it for the sake of attention. My wife, we were watching Hulu the other night, and I'm gonna butcher her name. Kristen Chenoweth. Does that sound familiar?
No.
Okay. Anyway, she is doing a series on Hulu, I guess, that's about her revisiting. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but she's eventually going. She's going back to revisit trauma because like girls disappeared from where she was at.
Oh, the blonde lady.
Yes,
Okay.
and so like just tearing off a band-aid, opening up an old wound, right? Like,
Mhm.
what are you actually getting out of that aside from personal closure, aside from the touristy, I went back to the place I went before. Like, you know what I mean? Is it
Mhm.
worth the trauma of that? Because going back to the Kanye and Candace story, like you said per the article, White Lives Matter was in response to Black Lives Matter. So it was trauma from black people for hundreds of years, culminating into this, which led into worldwide protests. And then the response to that, for the sake of attention, was White Lives Matter. All lives matter, blue lives matter, red lives, wherever it is now. And so the idea of them using that, churning up the potential trauma from people who otherwise have respect for Kanye or Candace, like it's the juice isn't worth the squeeze, man. James Madison's flute wasn't worth playing that shit, and that's gonna parlay into her doing more stuff with it. And this probably won't be the last time that he's going to do this, and that she'll show up or that she'll co-sign, because that gets the attention simply for the sake of the currency of attention at the expense of the trauma. So, yeah, man, it's just a giant fucking whatever is the negative of a Ric Flair woo. What's the opposite of that?
Boo.
Is that like Eeyore? Is that the character from Winnie the Pooh?
Winnie the Pooh. Okay. I guess we'll go over here.
I guess Kanye's doing his thing again. And so
There,
another level of
there.
this is PTSD, is mental health, right? So
Mhm.
Kanye has it with the loss of his mom, with the pain killers he got addicted to, all this stuff. The same way war veterans have PTSD from that trauma, from the physical and mental trauma that they face, on top of any medications that they used or got hooked to, like and the people around him that are going to monetize this attention do not care about their mental health. The same way politicians will parade war vets around for the sake of, you know, galvanizing the country or whatever they do it. You know, I made a post about Nancy Pelosi last week, about Nancy Pelosi PR stunt is like that teammate who means well but accidentally scores its own goal. It's
Yep.
like I saw her at a concert and she was up there like just pandering and she got booed.
Mhm.
So like a bunch of people were booing because it's like, get that shit out of here. That's not why we're here. But they
Yep.
use those opportunities to force you to hold on to a good time for the sake of a sponsorship or whatever. But it's at the expense of a good time. Like no one cares. People care. The consensus doesn't care that much. She's not moving the
Right.
needle. When she bent down in when she kneeled, it's like another one of those things. When everybody kneeled,
Yeah.
I was like, bro, what are you? What? It's Eeyore. I
Yep.
guess.
Okay.
All right, do your fucking thing.
This means a lot.
God, it's so. I just because I would rather be wooing. I would rather Ric Flair woo it. I want to support Kanye, but I can't, man. It's Eeyore straight up. Because what the fuck, Ric Flair for sure gets a woo. For sure. Loretta Lynn gets a woo. I gotta update the sound effect, Ben. Woo was coming.
Yes.
Do that out of respect for Rick and his drip. And the fact that he is a, not only am I the owner, but I'm a user, I'm a client. Like the fact that he's using it in a way that actually helps his mental health, I can support that all day.
Yep.
So
I completely agree. And I think we tied this balloon together.
I think we did,
And
man.
I think we should release it up into the clouds.
Let it go, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the Silver Spool podcast. Once again, my name is Jake Howard.
Chocolate and vanilla.
Button, you better work every time I press you, man. Every time. Everybody, thanks again for hanging out with us, tuning in now and then later, and check us out. I will be putting up some deep cuts real soon. Get ready, Jake.
I'm about it.
Hey, it's Warhorse. Do you want your workouts to look like this? Or do you want your workouts to slay? When Warhorse picks his pre-workout, he wants it to slay. If you want second place, go with somebody else. If you want to be a champion, go with Royalty Nutrition.